When the newest generation of consoles launched in 2020, each came with their own merits when it came to buying either one. Xbox showed off lots of games that looked promising, some turned out not to be, but others still look good, and maybe we'll even get to play those one day. PlayStation 5 came with a host of titles, because they actually made some games for their console when it launched. In fact, they did such a good job making them, you didn't even need the new PlayStation to play some of them on. Wait, why did they make these consoles again? PlayStation, however, did deliver something actually exclusive to this new console, and that was a bunch of tiny little robots running around inside it. No, that's a rotten lie, but that is what this game is about. Astro's Playroom was a launch exclusive that came pre-installed on every PS5 and follows the exploits of Astro, who would have thought it, an adorable robot who lives inside your PS5 along with a whole bunch of other little bots. This isn't the first time Astro has appeared though. His beginnings rooted in 2013's The Playroom, where the bots, then called Little AR Men, were featured on the PS4 tech demo, before making their way to Playroom VR, where Astro made his official debut, needing a central character for one of the mini-games, and eventually headlining his own game in the PSVR title Astro Bot Rescue Mission, that being his first proper platforming adventure, evolving from the robot rescue minigame Playroom VR had previously introduced. I personally never played any of these titles, VR not something I've ever been inclined to tap into, along with the Playroom needing you to be one of the 7 people in the world who decided to buy a PS4 camera, so Astro's Playroom was my first introduction to him. Let's start by quickly going over Astro's conception and design, being very appealing for a plethora of reasons. His character is small and cute, but also simple in his easily recognisable shape and silhouette, holding an endearing childlike demeanour with the way he waddles around like a little toddler. He also doesn't speak, communicating only via his cute, high-pitched muffled phrases and universally understood onomatopoeia he expresses himself with, along with emotions displayed on his face screen? Yeah, face screen. This makes him accessible to any age group, anywhere in the world, and appealing to anyone, regardless of language barriers, because there are none. It's a tested formula for a successful, lovable icon, whilst also thankfully not being quite as awful compared to other certain small viral sensations that simply refuse to exit our current zeitgeist. Astro's Playroom itself is really a short and sweet glorified tech demo, but honestly, there's nothing wrong with that. It starts you off with a showcase of the, at the time, new DualSense controller and all its unique capabilities, including the adaptive triggers, haptic feedback, and gyroscopic control. These aren't just one-off moments here either, the entire game is crafted around what lies in your hands. Every surface Astro walks across, every action you make him perform, is in turn met with a unique and different feeling, drifting through the controller and into your hands. Tiptoeing on metal feels different from wood, footsteps across glass feel different to grass, and so on. Actually, can I say footsteps? He doesn't technically have feet, just little stumps which he also shoots lasers out of, giving Astro the ability to hover and cross larger distances. I miss when platformers gave you that double jump or hovering ability. It makes it feel like Astro's Playroom was created with old school platformers of yesteryear in mind, which I think it's safe to say it was. Once you're finished getting familiarised with basic controls, you're loaded into CPU Plaza, which houses the 4 worlds of the game: Cooling Springs, GPU Jungle, SSD Speedway, and Memory Meadow, as well as a doorway to PlayStation Labo, which I'll get to in due course. The crux of the game is to essentially journey through the inner worlds, respectively themed after the working components of your PS5, exploring environments, collecting coins, picking up puzzle pieces, acquiring artifacts, and familiarising yourself with a face or two. Each of these worlds is insanely creative, the first being Cooling Springs, based around the inner workings of the console fan. Starting you off on a beach filled with bots relaxing and having fun, this world is surrounded by a huge wall of ice inlaid with PlayStation symbols. You know, like the real world. You make your way through a spa, journey into a snowy biome needing you to platform across ice-cold rapids, and finish this level in an aquarium hotel. Lots of the traversal in these worlds is done with the help of an upgrade, utilising the various capabilities of the DualSense. The frog suit in this instance lets you bounce left to right with a springy response through your controller as you hop from platform to platform and satisfyingly smash your way through glass structures. There's plenty of variety between these worlds too, none being quite the same as the other. GPU Jungle follows, loading you into a forest composed of electronic envisionings of natural things found in, well, nature. Each of the worlds do this actually. It's one of the rules of the Astrobot universe, if you like, technologising organic things, but GPU Jungle showcases it the best. The trees of this mountainous world are made of cables, the blades of grass each an individual little computer chip, even some of the flowers being adorned with one of the sacred symbols as petals. All this is watched over by the singing GPU, who accompanies this game with an absolute banger of a soundtrack. All the music across this game is so upbeat and fun, in fact. Each track just makes you want to hang around to listen to it. You can even even find the lyrics for the GPU's song across this map if you're interested in singing along, and I wouldn't blame you, it's a pretty catchy little bop. The GPU isn't the only guy up here in the mountains, as you also come across this massive robot bloke called Big Brother, whose looks are nearly fringing on copyright for the Iron Giant, but he seems to be original enough to be avoiding any legal issues. The power up for this level is the monkey suit. You know, jungles, monkeys, you get it. Showcasing the adaptive triggers and gyros in this section where you scale the mountaintops with wonderfully snappy and responsive controls and satisfying clicks as you grab hold of the rocky face of the mountain up here amongst the clouds. SSD Speedway contrasts this, probably being the most visually stunning of the four worlds, set in a cyberpunk-esque undercity with so much rushing past happening on screen thanks quite fittingly to the PS5's real SSD. Neon signs embellish the speedway and bots on hovering vehicles whiz past you as you feel the rush of traffic in your hands. The latter portion of this level has you pilot a little one-bot rocket ship which you navigate using the left and right triggers to control each of the rocket thrusters and guide yourself up into space. The lighting and ray tracing capabilities of the PS5 are shown off the best here, with the ignition from your rocket reflecting off the smooth rocky terrain along with the bright foliage juxtapositioned against the deep and dark backdrop of space. It's a great idea to showcase the third world. The third world in the game, not like the third world, I don't mean like. Finally we have Memory Meadow, modelled like a charming sky garden up above the clouds and akin to the same kind of world you'd find in Mario Galaxy, including the environment filled with clouds cartoonishly trying to blow you away. The ball suit illustrates the use of the returning PS4 controller feature being the touchpad, which always went quite underutilised in the previous generation, to be honest. This game mechanic is actually quite tricky to master compared to any other in the game, resulting in a slight jump in difficulty compared to the other worlds, but not too egregious. The fact that they bothered creating 4 completely different worlds with individual game mechanics is a testament to the care Team Asobi put into this tech demo. They didn't just make a game around the features they wanted to showcase, with an engaging final product coming second to advertising the DualSense. They genuinely created a passion project with fun level design and wanted to intuitively use the controller to build on an already amazing experience. They took full advantage of the circumstances they were given to bolster their creativity with this game, not stifle their talents as a studio simply to make the designated PS5 tech demo. The fact PlayStation went to them to make this game and encouraged a studio of people to be attuned with their playfulness and creativity will never have not been the right decision. Talking of Asobi flexing their creative muscles, let's move on to the other inhabitants of Astro's world, starting with all the other bots. Throughout the worlds of the Playroom you'll come across plenty of them, always up to something, whether it be relaxing on the beach, climbing a tree, cheering our titular character on, or dangling in terror from a ledge as their friend watches on, doing nothing like an absolute monster. There is always something lively and unique happening wherever you turn, each and every bot acting out something accompanied with comedic undertones. Each of these little guys you can interact with too, always getting a funny little animation play out when you do, so in the most respectful way possible, it just makes you want to go around punching everyone you come across to see their reaction. I do not recommend doing this in real life. Regular bots aren't the only ones you'll find hanging around either, as the game is chock full of robotic VIPs serving cameos for PlayStation exclusive franchises, but also non-exclusive ones that are nonetheless just as important to PlayStation's legacy. Plenty of these titles even more deserving of the credit, as PlayStation may not be where they are today without the likes of Resident Evil, Crash Bandicoot or Final Fantasy. All of these icons are so recognisable, even I clocked onto some of these references, despite not having played any of the games they're from. Just goes to show how many great games we've been able to indulge in over the past 30 years, and how much of an amazing catalogue of characters and IPs exist that definitely aren't being ignored by their owners. Don't worry lads, I'm sure the Bloodborne remaster is right around the corner. It's right around the corner guys. No, not that one, don't remaster that one. Not everyone is as friendly as PG-13 Kratos however, and there are plenty of enemy bots that come across your path. They follow the same design as Astro and his friends, but with red eyes to signify them as bad, because as we all know, red equals evil. There's plenty of diversity to the baddie bots too. You got your basic enemies here with the boopies and their spiky variants, the jib jabs. These trip traps are made up of multiple enemies that walk in one line like a big caterpillar, so you have to take them all out. Charger bots come in various forms, but all of them you need to be careful around to avoid their electric charge, however they may disperse it. Gloopies who spit slimy little projectiles at you. Okay, firstly, who the hell came up with these names? I found them on the Astrobot wiki, so I'm going to be honest, a part of me just doesn't believe this is what they're actually called. Secondly, these are just Mario enemies, let's be real, which is fine, but like, this literally is a Goomba, isn't it? Inspiration behind the enemies' designs aside, they all pose a degree of threat to us and further Astro's journey with a little bit of challenge. Defeating them rewards you with coins, which you can also find scattered around the game worlds and hidden in interactable objects. These coins are plentiful and you'll collect them up soon enough. They can be redeemed down in the PlayStation label at the gotcha gotcha machine for figures of bots getting up to all sorts of hijinks, and as you break the prize balls open, you'll slowly bring the Labo back to life. The attention to detail with what all these bots get up to around here is so impressive. There's little Easter eggs scattered all around, and it really makes you want to interact with each and every one of them. Other than the bots around the Labo, you can also use the gotcha machine to attain another collectible in-game, artifacts from across PlayStation's history, because what would any of these games be if you didn't have the consoles to play them on? Each one of these levels acts as a stroll down memory lane as you uncover gear from all 4 previous generations hidden amongst them. They pose a challenge to find them all, with the core equipment being scattered around the corresponding world and the other bits from each console generation being available to redeem for coins, with the end of each level having you uncover the big artifact being one of the 4 PlayStation consoles themselves. As you collect these artifacts, they take their place in the centre of the Labo, each one also being interactable, again with a unique animation or two based physically around how their real world counterparts function. Some of these include the coloured lights of the PlayStation Move controllers, the boot up sounds from the consoles, or even astrofied versions of classic PSP games. Finally, the last of the game's collectibles are the pieces that make up the puzzle wall. Scattered in-game and as gotcha rewards, these make up a colourful collage of all of PlayStation's history from the newest generation today right back to 1994, where it all began. Talking of 1994, the final things the game rewards you with are firstly the cleverly named network speedruns, which test your agility and, well, speed in completing these stages, and the second is found once you've completed all 4 of the other main worlds, when the flashback level is unlocked for you. The lights dim and the bots are gathered round the final digital gateway found under CPU Plaza. This throwback level has you load up the original test demo from the PS1 and you're treated to a beautifully pixelated recreation of the tech demo coming face to face with the glorious PS1 textures of a T-Rex, accompanied with a nostalgic aspect ratio from a 90s TV. After thinking you've defeated the final boss, you're then met with an even more challenging modern mechanical version of the dino, which dupes you out but also serves to show just how far video games have come in the past 30 years. Which really ties this experience up quite fittingly. Astro's Playroom is above all else a wonderful celebration of PlayStation history and all of the great games we've played over the decades as fans. Team Asobi clearly understood this, giving us something new to showcase the latest generation while filling it to the brim with that same love and care they too clearly hold for everything that gaming has given us since its conception with their own title. A final post-credits treat has us gather another handful of collectibles, being the latest generation of PS5 hardware, and whoever thought of this being the message that comes with the PS5 controller is a natural comedian in my eyes. This appreciation very much still shows years after they dropped this freebie, as on the horizon of Astro's newest adventure that would come to us later in 2024, they threw even more content our way, in the form of new PS5 collectibles, including the accessibility controller, which is cool as hell that this exists, the very less cool DualSense Edge, edging being the last thing you'll be doing when you see the price of this thing, but hey, no price is too high to get rid of that stick drift problem controllers still have in the 2020s for some reason. Asobi also thought they'd throw in 4 special bots to collect that would show up in the new Astro game, and let me tell you, I have a little bone to pick with them here. Oh yes, I do. Firstly, it's annoying as hell to even manage to come across these guys in the first place. The one at Bot Beach, you gotta step on a bunch of shells in the right order to even get him to appear, only for the puzzle in the main menu to only work when you go around to the other side of the beach and uncover a hidden steering wheel, because of course I was meant to do that. The next you gotta stand near the edge of a cliff until he appears, then interact with a clock, setting it to this seemingly irrelevant date, which, come to think of it, isn't even how a clock works in the first place. It tells time, not dates, but I get to fuck it, you know, it doesn't make sense anyway. This monkey one is just ridiculous. You gotta throw a canister into nothing, then fetch him bananas, so it'll show you a little dance routine you gotta copy in the right order, and if you don't get it right, you better believe you gotta go get more bananas each and every time you attempt it, because fuck you, I guess. And the last one, you gotta purposely get yourself killed next to a little doll here. Who decided this was a good idea? These are so convoluted and impossible to do without a YouTube guide. How would you even know how to figure these out unless you're one of the devs who worked on putting them in? I'm convinced it was just like one employee who was told he was being laid off or something, so as revenge he decided his final thing to do while working for Asobi was to just piss off the entire player base. Aside from that, I appreciate the countdown in the secret Labo, and you gotta admit, it's one hell of a way to market your next game, to be honest. Drop an absolute banger of a free demo showcasing your talents, spend 4 years making a fully fledged adventure for your character, who's basically PlayStation's new mascot at this point, then remind everyone how good it will be by throwing in some new content in this one that literally every PS5 owner has. It's genius. And as for Asobi's next game, well, that only went to galactic levels of above and beyond, but that's for a whole nother video. Thank you for watching.